Welcome to Smithville Chamber Chatter, coming to you from historic Smithville, Texas. We're here to talk about all things Smithville, including upcoming events, updates and tips for and about local businesses, important news, election updates, and more. Brought to you by the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce, I'm your host, April Daniels. Welcome to our podcast. Good afternoon and welcome to the Smithville Chamber Chatter podcast with your host, April Daniels. We're excited to be continuing our podcast series today, sponsored by the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce and this week's sponsor, Doug's Plumbing. Our guest today is Bethy Neely, owner of Smithville General Store and Smithville General Store Home. Good afternoon, Beth, and thank you for being our guest on the Smithville Chamber Chatter podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. This is my very first Zoom thing ever to do, so I'm a little new to the whole thing. But thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, you've done a great job of framing up your background. It looks really beautiful. I know that's one of your stores that we're going to hear about.
It is. Thank you. This is the home store. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Well, Beth, I know you are fairly new to Smithville, which is a great testament to the growth of our community here. Can you tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about your choice to make Smithville your home and not just one, but multiple businesses here?
Well, I was born and raised in Texas. I grew up in Houston and the Katy area, and I went to school at the University of Texas. And I say that because I made that drive often from Houston to Austin. And although I never stopped in Smithville, it was after the bypass was built, there was something always kind of calling. Like it was like this town was calling me. I can't even explain it. Like I just was fascinated when I would drive through it. And then cut to later, the Hope Floats movie coming out. And I'm like, that's that town I always meant to go to. Like there was just something about this town that I'd never even been to. I've spent the last 25 years of my life in Los Angeles, California. And I was going through some life-changing things at the time. And I was looking for a way to get back to my roots of Texas. And I received a phone call that there was a group of people that were working on this revitalization of the town. Would I be interested in coming out? And so I had a lot of long talks with my cousin Robin Kelly, Steve Simmons, Linda Leibowitz, just to name a few, that were all kind of working together. So I came out, fell in love with the town. My cousin and I went in business. Unfortunately, she passed away recently. But I decided to make Smithville my home. And so, yes, I opened the Smithville General Store, followed by the Smithville General Store Home, and then some other things coming up soon.
Well, I know. I'm excited to hear about those. I will say I do just love Smithville General Store. I've bought lots of wonderful things in there, and your staff is so fantastic, and you get the best hot chocolate in the world there, which is I love to get it there. And of course, your newest venture, Smithville General Store Home, which is just so eclectic and beautiful. I can see parts of it in the background behind you. Can you talk a little bit about those two businesses and what you offer, your location and hours, that sort of thing?
Sure. So the Smithville General Store, I really wanted it to be a community where people would come in, locals or tourists as well, where it was kind of open for both people. Our coffee bar before the pandemic hit was an amazing spot where a lot of people would meet up for coffees and talking in the back cafe area. We take our coffee very seriously at the Smithville General Store. Our coffee comes from Mazama in Dripping Springs, and it's roasted there. We try to keep things as local as possible. All of our syrups are handcrafted. Our goods in the store are gifts. It's a gift shop. We have a lot of Texas-based goods. And where I first started, where I was ordering from bigger companies, I've really tried to turn that around, which you might have noticed things kind of changing in the store, and ordering more from smaller businesses. So that's been a little bit of a change there, and trying to keep it small business, staying with small business. The home store is just a store I've always dreamed about having. I've always had a thing for antiques and doors and redecorating. And so I love it. We had our big grand opening in this store, and the following weekend we were shut down because of
Yeah.
the pandemic. So we have recently reopened just on the weekends right now for this store. I'm sorry, our general store is open Wednesday through Sunday right now, and then our home store is open on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
And both of those stores are located on 2nd Street in downtown Smithville.
Yes, that's correct. Our general store is located on 2nd Street right across from Honey's Pizza. And then our home store is on the corner of 2nd Street and Main Street. So main entrance is on Main, but you can come in on 2nd Street as well.
Fantastic. Yeah. They're beautiful stores, and I certainly recommend to our viewers and our listeners to go take a look. They're gorgeous stores.
It's so fun. It's really fun.
And I know I want to let our viewers and listeners know, too, that you are doing just a wonderful fundraiser right now for our local Empty Bowl project. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, it's actually going to be kicking off next week. We have a candle in our store that is really popular. We do our own line of candles that are hand poured here in Smithville, all natural soy candles. And we are developing a new candle. It's going to be called Hope Floats. And describing the scent is kind of like you're just taking a breathing in a fresh morning Texas, smells and things like that, like really clean and fresh. And a percentage of the proceeds is going to go to the Smithville Empty Bowl project. And we're going to have those candles at all of our locations. So you can purchase them from any location, or we can do curbside, or we're going to try and get them online. I'm not the greatest at the whole online thing, so I'm working on that, but hopefully they'll be online soon too.
Well, that's very generous of you. And I, as one of the founders of the Empty Bowl Project, I certainly appreciate your continued generosity over the years helping us with that program. And this year we had to do an outside drive-through, and you were right there in line, and we so appreciate you. And
others. I have to say, Shauna Bridgman is she's the amazing candle maker. So very thankful for her. And we came up with the idea together. So it's her too. And she's amazing.
And that's a great example for our listeners and viewers of the talent we have here, new talent and long-standing talent here in our community, of people working together to do great things in our community. Mm-hmm. I'd like to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor of today's podcast, Doug's Plumbing. Doug the Plumber is always very generous and supports our many things that we do. Thank you very much, Doug's Plumbing. I understand, Beth, that you are continuing to invest in our community. Pretty amazing. Along with the 2 businesses we've already discussed, there are plans for 2 more businesses in the near future. Tell us all about those.
Yeah, well, the first one is going to be a little bookstore. It is going to be where Lark was. We're so sad that Lark is not coming back. But we really wanted to, they had done such an amazing job with that space. I didn't want it to go empty. So the space is quite small if you've been there. It's going to be a challenge with the pandemic, how we're going to work that, because it is a small space and only going to be able to have maybe 1 or 2 people in at a time. But the goal is to be a multicultural bookstore. It will, of course, have all your New York Times bestsellers, some of the great literature, but we'll also have an option of other things as well. When we're first open, we are going to be focusing a lot on Black authors and having a whole section to support them as well. And then trying to come in with all sorts of different varieties of books to have in the store. And so that's the bookstore.
And that's, just for those of you that are listening in, that is right across the alley from where Smithville General Store is now, right across the street from Honey's, again, on 2nd Street.
Yes, I do like 2nd Street.
Yes, you do. And then I know there's another big, exciting announcement.
Yes, it's so exciting. Also on 2nd Street.
Yay.
So today, I officially closed on the Old Pines hotel that is next door to Honey's. And It's going to be a huge project. It has a lot of work to do. But I'm so excited. In my other life before Smithville, I was heavily involved with event planning and fundraising and things of that nature. So the bottom space is going to be event space that can hold about 200 to 225 people, which we just don't have in town at this point. We have beautiful venues on the outskirts, but nothing in town. The second and third floor are going to be hotel rooms, but run like an Airbnb. There are going to be 6 rooms per floor, so 12 rooms. There will be rooms that will be handicap accessible. And then on the top is going to be a rooftop deck that will be able to be rented for event space as well. I'm super excited. So I just closed on that. Preliminary plans have been drawn out, but construction on that probably won't start for several months now.
So sometime next year, we'll hope to see that.
Yes. I am so excited about it. And then, then that whole second street will be all ready to go. And what I love about it too, a reason why I also wanted to do that, not only did I feel the need for it, but also it just helps bring our whole community together. The community can have events there. We can use local restaurants to cater into the space. We can use local businesses like the florist and things like that. We can hire more employees, have more jobs to offer in the town. So that is another part that's really important to me as well. So it just kind of brings together and helps the community as well.
Well, that is fantastic. And folks, you heard it and saw it here first. This is a big announcement.
You're the first person to know.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you for letting us break the story. I really appreciate that. And for those of you that are watching and listening today, I so encourage you to come down to our Central Business District to shop at Smithville General Store and Smithville General Store Home and all of our other lovely restaurants and retail stores in our area. Smithville, we are, of course, experiencing lots of we're having a lot of challenges, of course, because of COVID-19, but our sales tax dollars are way up. People are shopping locally, and I encourage everyone that's listening and watching to continue to do that as we make our way through these complicated new times. Beth, I appreciate you so much being on our podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun. My first Zoom, I survived.
You did a great job. Very well done. I encourage our listeners and followers to check out our podcasts Wednesdays at noon. They go live on our Facebook, Spotify, and iTunes and YouTube channel. And next week, I invite you to listen in on our next podcast. Gina Cronus-Bear with Chevron Smithville will be our guest. Be sure to join us. And until then, enjoy Smithville, a big small town experience. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Smithville Chamber Chatter with your host, April Daniels. If you'd like to be a guest, email us at april.daniels@smithvilletx.org. Between now and our next episode, be sure to check out the Chamber's website at www.smithvilletx.org. Until then, we'll see you on Main Street.